Ladies and gentlemen, Henry Confidential here, and we are talking fantasy football. I've been playing fantasy football for 12 years now. It's ironic because as I've been a football fan, an NFL fan my entire life, but I just never heard of fantasy football until my freshman year of college in 2011, and then I've fallen in love ever since. Little credentials about me. I've been playing now for 12 years. I've played in a minimum 2 leagues every year, 2 paid leagues every year, except for I think 2. So 11 of my 12, 10 of my 12 years, I've been in 2 paid leagues, and whether I've been in 1 or 2 leagues, and I've also been in 3, I think, twice. But regardless, I've never missed the playoffs in any of mine. So like I'm confident in just like what I know, and I've been doing YouTube for a while now. So it's been one of those things where I'm like, I need to start talking about fantasy football. And I brought 2 of my buddies that I'm bringing over from the movie community, but they also love the NFL in general, but they're also big fantasy football fans. Jake Tato, how long have you been playing fantasy football, and what are some of your credentials?
I am 32 years old, sir. I've been playing since I was 10. The first time I was in money leagues was when I was 13. Yeah, I've been doing it for a hot minute. So it'll be like 20 years of playing, actually having attention, as opposed to just clicking around being a 10-year-old, since I was 13, I've been putting actual legitimate thought into fantasy football. So
there you go. Antonio, how about you, buddy?
I remember I started when I was 16, so that makes it 15 years I've been playing fantasy football. Last year was the first time I ever won any league that had money, right in. So I've won leagues without money in it, but
pretty sure I helped you with some things on that, so I take a little.
You did, but so did my fiance. And I was like, wow, it's like the one league I got help from 2 different ends, and I finally won a money league, so I felt really good about that. And just a little fun fact: the one quarterback that I used to love drafting back in the day, like in my fantasy football prime, was Drew Brees. And I used to love always having him on my team no matter what. And I'm looking for a quarterback now in this generation that can always be that reliable. So
there is one, but you kind of have to overdraft him, and that'll kind of. That is actually gives me 2 things. One, I've won 4 championships out of all the leagues I've done, and in my league that I've been running now for 10 years, I won it 3 years in a row at one point, and it's one of those things where fantasy football.
Repeat.
Yeah, exactly. Fantasy football is one of the few things that you can't fudge it in terms of shenanigans. You know what I mean? It's you really can't, because you have 12 other people, or 11 or 9, depending on your league size, of other people that are monitoring, the rules and all that type of stuff. Sure, trades and, all that type of behind the scenes junk, collusion could technically happen, but the odds of that happening, no. So fantasy football championships is one of the few things where I'm like, yeah, I got 3 of those, and I'm, I love it. So with that reminder, one of my proudest drafting, well, I guess I technically have 2, and it's ironic because they're both Giants. 2 of my proudest drafting moments is I drafted Saquon his rookie year in the first round at the 106 in a 12 person league, and it paid off. He went ham. And then I picked up OBJ after week 1, I'm pretty sure. And I had, I guess 3. I had a combination in one of my championships. I had a combination of Mahomes, Kelsey, and Kareem Hunt. I think it was in 2018 when they all just literally were just guaranteed 100 points, amongst the 3 of them every week. And yeah, that was one of my easy championships. I literally could have just sat everyone else and won it easily because I just had that stack. Tato, do you have he mentioned Breeze. Do you have something that you've had a regular back in the day, or do you have one of your proudest moments of I drafted them before everyone else and it paid off, or anything like that?
Recent, I've got a few, but recently I got Amon-Ra. I think he was in the 7th round last year. That obviously paid off pretty tremendously, so that's a recent one. Got some good trades where you trade the player right before they get injured or fall off. Those are always a good one. Or you find the not sexy name guy. I remember Derek Anderson taking me really far one year.
Carolina, wow.
Cleveland.
Yeah.
Oh, Cleveland.
Yeah, I mean he's he's been around, so probably. But you could have said 10 teams and probably been right.
Right, that's true. All I know was Carolina.
Yeah, that's just like Kirk Cousins every year, where it's just not the sexy name, but you're not going to lose having him as your quarterback, but like no one ever wants to draft. All right. So with that said, I'm going to, behind the scenes, we're doing a kind of a draft order for this 10-team league that I'm doing with these two guys, but we're also going to talk about tiers. I figured let's have some fun with that. So where's that? This one. But I want to use this angle. All right. So what we have is for the quarterbacks, my tiers are going to be league winners, early round steals, mid-round upside, avoid at their ADP, and hard pass. So league winners, literally, if they're on your team, similar to what I was just talking about Mahomes earlier. Oh, no, this is quarterbacks. Similar to what I was talking about Mahomes earlier, where it's like, regardless of really who else I have on my team, they're going to, help it. Lamar's MVP season, early round steals. For early round for quarterbacks, essentially mid-round, but, you're probably getting them, a round earlier, essentially, or a round later than, you may want to or whatever. And then mid-round, essentially that round 10 range of like, that like the Kirk Cousins is, for example. And then avoid at their ADP. It's one of those where it's like, yeah, that's just too high for my blood, which ironically might also be a league winner crossover, depending on who you're talking about. And then hard pass. Initially, I came up with these because I was like, that's going to be easy for all the positions, but then I kind of went with a couple different names depending on the position. So with that said, I'm just going to go in order of what's on screen. So for me, first, we have Aaron Rodgers.
Of course.
Well, it's an alphabetical order. So what I did is on the tier ranker thing, I just literally went with what they have on there. So just to kind of make that easy. Aaron Rodgers for me, I'm actually going to go with mid-round upside. I think that based at his ADP, he's going to be a lot later because of whether it's age. People don't respect the Jets, even in fantasy football, based on the hype in real life. And also, he just doesn't have the mobility that a lot of the higher up quarterbacks go. So I feel like if I can get him at that, for some reason, if I just go super hard or other quarterbacks go, earlier than I had planned on, and I don't want to reach at one point, and he's still there at like round 9, 10, and I don't have a quarterback, I would gladly have him as my starter. And if he's still there at like round like 15 or whatever, and I need a backup, I'm definitely cool with that. Tato, what are your thoughts on Aaron Rodgers this year in fantasy football?
Yeah, I think that's a fair spot for him. He'll probably have a solid season. I don't know if he's going to be a guy. He'd be a backup for sure. But I don't know if he's a top 10 guy. He's probably at the bottom of the top 10 there.
Okay. Antonio.
So, yeah.
Oh, that's the other thing. I'm not really going with the rankings on this, just it's more the tiers because it's a lot of people when you think of these, the numbers can be so like what do the rankings really mean versus like tiers? It's like where are you really? That's how I rank. All right, like obviously I'll have actual rankings for like the actual draft just because I want to make sure I have the right order when I'm looking at names. But in terms of this type of conversation, the tiers. Antonio, sorry, where are you at?
That's the first thing I thought of him being mid-round upside, actually. Because he has the potential. Obviously, he's going to be a future Hall of Famer. But for me, even though I'm not a Jets fan, but I support them, I wish he had maybe like one more good established weapon. He obviously has like the Rookie of the Year and Garrett Wilson, but I'm just like, so that's why he could still go off with him and the rest of the wide receiver core, but. I always wish maybe he had a really more established tight end, that then maybe he would be a little bit higher for me. But otherwise, mid-round upside, I feel like would be right for him.
Just to kind of touch on that a little bit, just for a little back. Even though I'm not really drafting Lazard as like a viable option in fantasy, like I definitely would love to have him on my bench, and then if he starts to snap off, or God forbid Garrett Wilson gets hurt, then he's going to be the number one guy type of deal. So it's like. Yeah, exactly. Knock on wood. He's just so shifty. I'm scared. Don't get me wrong. I'm scared. That's as a fan, not even just for fantasy. But Lazard, I feel like he's got that red zone ability, and then Conklin and Uzama both. Conklin's already had tremendous chemistry with Rodgers in training camp right now, so I'm excited for that. And then fingers crossed that Brees is a dog week 1 immediately coming off the ACL, and if that's the case, then he's going to really help. Rodgers with a lot of out the backfield passing, as well as like Michael Carter and Bam Knight. So even though the weapons aren't sexy, he does have enough weapons that him as a dog can really elevate everyone else around him. All right. Next up, we have Anthony Richardson. I'm awesome. If I had a difference here, I would put it this, but just based on the name, I'm going mid-round upside because I genuinely have faith in what he's going to be. Both, I think as a passer, I like him better than Fields, and so rookie season, I genuinely believe that passing wise right now, I genuinely believe that he's going to come out the gate better, and especially with the Colts with Shane Steichen's offense coming out from Philadelphia. I really genuinely believe that they're going to be more equipped. Where I feel like in Chicago, and Tato can attest to this, that they kind of like created something out their ass to start with Fields, and now they're developing a system around him. Whereas Anthony Richardson's going to have a semi-established system to start, as well as he's already got a number one guy in Pittman, which we'll kind of talk about later, that I'm confident in. Whereas Fields didn't have that, and I know it's unfair to kind of judge the two based on that, but it's essentially what everyone's the hype about is like Anthony Richardson is going to be the next Justin Fields. So I'm going to go mid-round upside. Essentially, if I can get him towards the very end, then he has a chance to low-key be a league winner. Tato, what are your thoughts? And what are your thoughts on my comparisons of Fields in that combo?
I don't know Richardson. I really haven't seen a ton of him throw. I know he can throw it out the fucking building. There's that.
He's fast. He's faster than Fields, and he's essentially
he's not faster than Fields.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is.
Anyway,
no, he literally is. He ran the fastest 40 time. Like he's a dog, dude.
Oh, again, that's not like.
I'm not saying Fields is slow. I'm just saying he's faster and he's bigger.
40 time is not the pure determination of speed.
Well, I get
it. There are definitely other measures.
I didn't
of speed,
say he was
so
shiftier.
We'll see what
I didn't
happens.
say he was a better runner. I said he's faster.
I disagree. No. Fucking anyway, hard pass. I don't know if he's starting or not. Not gonna take a quarterback unless I'm 100% sure he's starting.
He's definitely the Gardner Minshew is not going to be an issue there. They have the by the books combos of like let's play it by year, but just like CJ Stroud, obviously they just did that they came out like CJ Stroud's the number one. Richardson's going to be the number one. I'm not worried about that even in the slightest. Tonya, what about you?
I think I would avoid at the ADP, just because I don't know. I feel like I've seen a little bit of his, like before the draft happened, I saw a little bit of it. I just get the vibe of like another RG3, and also he has he only has one target, which is Pittman. I know there's probably other names on there, but it's like that's his only established target.
I'll hype up Alec Pierce. I'm going to talk about him. I don't know if his name's at the bottom, but Alec Pierce is a dog, and Josh Downs. He's actually going to. I'm really excited to see what Josh Downs does out of UNC.
But that's why I see the potential for him being like the most likeliest bust. So yeah.
Okay, and we're already off to a great start. Brock Purdy. I'm gonna start off. I'm just gonna hard pass. I don't know exactly what's going to go on with his elbow, I think it's a UCL with his elbow, as well as just quarterbacking in for fantasy from the Niners. They're not really advantageous. They're going to get you a solid 15 a game because the Niners are going to set you up for success. But as like a starting quarterback, hard pass, and as a backup, not going to happen. So unless he starts ripping off 25-point games consistently, I have no interest in him as a starter. Tato.
No, not so much for me. Probably in the hard pass avoid region.
There we go. Antonio.
It is around Jay. I think he's got mid-round upside. I think he's got the receiving core. The whole team's great, and I know he had a small sample size, but I just feel like he's gonna build off of that. Yeah, there's always the worry about injuries, but I think he's gonna really take advantage of the fact that he was given a shot, and he's just gonna really make sure he's ready when he's ready, and he's going to take advantage of the fact that he's there to stay. I don't think they want Trey Lance really long term, so I actually think he could still keep on his good year and just continue until another follow, maybe even better sophomore year.
I respect that. But with that said, everything I just said about him negatively, I'm very up on the receivers because, like I said, 49ers offense is just advantageous for the weapons, but not necessarily the quarterback. Bryce Young, roll tide. I'm going to go mid-round upside. No one's really drafting him, but if you do draft him, similar to Anthony Richardson, like he could be a league winner, but it's more of the question mark of like the rookie. Because even Trevor Lawrence, who was probably arguably one of the top 3 prospects as a quarterback coming out of college, he still, even in his rookie season, wasn't the best. Whether it's developing chemistry with your team, obviously you were picked that early for a reason because the team around you is just not good, or whatever. Whether changing coaching, all that stuff. So Bryce Young, keep your eyes on him. As the Jets just practice against them, and our defense is legit. He didn't struggle too bad. So yeah, Bryce Young's a dog. If he can stay healthy, I recommend him. Tato.
There's going to be a lot of this from me because I'm simply not drafting anyone ranked at 25. I know we're not doing rankings here, but it's just I'm not passing on. I'm not drafting people below the top 20.
No, I mean, absolutely. This is one the ones that like these guys I'm talking about where it's like essentially mid-round upside is not necessarily also draft. It's more of a waiver wire too, where it's the mid-round upside where it's like I told you before pre-draft.
Waiver wire is not around.
That's why this tier is here, the mid-round upside, where it's like hypothetically, if you took them, you would pay off where the other guys that are going to need the waiver wire. So that's what that is. These are essentially backups from your starters because you're drafting them as a backup, as a second-tier quarterback, but they could be, top tier.
I'm drafting him as my backup either.
Oh my God, you're missing the point of the hypothetical. That's what tier lists are literally for. Antonio.
Just my own I have just a feeling with rookies. I'll put hard pass also. I just don't really ever feel confident drafting rookies.
That's totally fair. All right, jumping over. CJ Stroud. I'm confident in all 3 of these in theory. If I ever had these guys on my team and they pay off, I like their weapons around them. I feel like they are actually going to be a lot better than expected. So I'm not technically drafting them. It's the same point with all of them. I'm not technically drafting them, but they do have mid-round upside, and eventually if they ended up on my team, I could see them starting. And I know you guys are going to say the same exact thing, so we'll move on. Let's actually go to a conversation. Dak. I'm going to draft Dak probably if he's there later, but I'm avoiding him at his ADP. He's at that tier of quarterbacks. Essentially it goes Trevor Lawrence, Herbert, and then it goes Deshaun Watson, Dak. And like between Deshaun Watson and Dak, I'd prefer Deshaun. And then I would probably wait one more round for Dak. But if he gets taken that round that I skipped, then that's probably why that's essentially the void ADP. So I would essentially wait one more round for Dak wherever he drops. So I'm avoiding, but I'm not worried about his interceptions, and that Cowboys offense is going to be electric. So I'm not, hating on Dak. I actually like Dak a lot, but I'm probably not drafting him. Tato.
In general, I'm not I don't draft quarterbacks very high. Dak, I think, will be good. I definitely think he will be and obviously tiers and shit. The avoid at ADP tier is going to be the better quarterbacks than the mid-round upside tier, clearly. But yeah, Dak, I like Dak. Probably won't end up on my team by virtue of how I draft quarterbacks.
That is fair game. Antonio, what are your thoughts as a Giants fan?
As a Giants fan,
universe where you draft Dak.
Well, considering
there's a universe where I draft Dak, there's not a universe where I draft any of the 3 rooks.
Right.
That's fair.
Considering he actually started to help me win my money league last year, and then Gino finished the job for me, I do owe him a little bit. But again, being a Giants fan, I'll keep him right there at avoid ADP. I just feel like he's declining weirdly. I don't know. Maybe it's also some Giants bias, but yeah, I'll keep him right there if I had to, even as a backup, but never as a starter. Again, I learned my lesson last year, even though he helped me a little bit. But yeah, just keep him there. Just like a throwaway.
I 100% see a universe where Dak is a top 5 quarterback by the end of the year. So like, if I get it, but it's about value. I feel like there's a running back that I probably want as either my RB2 if I for some reason waited that long, or a wide receiver that like I'm high on, but I just don't want to risk missing them. Whereas there's a tie, like there's a world where it's like if between Dak and Kirk Cousins, I'm okay waiting around, losing out on Dak and having Cousins or even Daniel Jones. There's things like that it's like there's reasons why I would skip, not necessarily because the player, just more of a strategy. Speaking of Daniel Jones. I'm also going to put him at the avoid ADP. even though he has the wheels for a white boy, I don't have the faith in him as a player. He came out the same draft as Sam Darnold, and it's like, I'm hesitant with his weapons because of him. I don't know. I'm rooting for him for you, Antonio, but I don't have as much faith in him as I would want. So yeah. Tato.
I think this man is a solid backup. I like the addition of Darren Waller here. I think that will pad some numbers for him. He can sort of get it done with his legs, so I think he's probably in that solid backup tier for me.
There you go. Antonio, as our perennial Giants fan, you're not drafting him to start, but would you draft him as a backup with legit hopes of him being that guy, or fantasy? Sometimes you got to be unbiased in fantasy and just not do it.
Yeah, as a backup, I don't know if he'll be that guy. Like, I don't think he'll have like an all-pro season. I do think he'll make use of his weapons this time around, especially now that he has Darren Waller, which I'm definitely happy about. But yeah, I'm one of those people that just thought they overpaid him. I do feel like he's gonna be one of those people that just get paid a huge contract, and I feel like he's gonna actually still want to he has like a chip on his shoulder. He's gonna want to prove he's worth that money, and I hope so. But yeah, he's still just worth a backup for me.
Absolutely. I feel like we're just going to kind of repeat ourselves. Derek Carr, I'm essentially the same thing. I'm not drafting him as my backup or anything like that, so I'm not really, worried about him being on my team. There's options of, high upside players. Like I would rather have Anthony Richardson as my backup with the chance that he's a dog versus have Carr as my backup. Tato?
I will actually agree with you on that point. Surprisingly enough, I would rather have Richardson as the backup.
Despite what I said, fuck you, I'd never draft him. I technically would over Carr.
Over Carr, yes. Because there is ultimately a degree of upside. I just don't like Carr. Don't like the new team situation. Feels a lot like Jay Cutler. Guarantee you, he's going to throw 4 picks the first game. No, obviously, I do not actually. I was quoting the league there. Just for the viewers, they may think I'm more of an idiot than I actually am. I just want them to think I'm correct. I want them to think correctly of my idiocy.
We just wanted you to quote your sources. That's all. Antonio, what are your thoughts?
Only because even though my boy Jimmy Graham is back with the Saints, he was another reliable pick that I used to have back in the day. I would still avoid Derek Carr. I don't really think he's going to do anything good. I'm not sure what the situation is with Michael Thomas, so I'm like, I honestly, I feel the same way. I'd rather have a rookie over Derek Carr just because at least they're hungry. They're trying to do it. Derek Carr, he just chose a new town. He got some money. I'm going to try to do something, but I don't really have much faith in him.
Exactly. Deshaun Watson. I'm going with mid-round upside above the rookie, so right behind Rod. I'm actually above Rodgers just for his rushing upside. He has a legit chance to be essentially, if this was a mid-round steal, I would probably even put it that. I'd actually label it that as mid-round steal. I'm actually going to create that right there. Because I just genuinely think that that's what he's actually going to be. People are forgetting just how much of a dog he was. So, give me Deshaun Watson in mid-rounds. Tato.
Fuck that guy. Hard pass.
Okay. Antonio.
I also concur with Tatum. Hard pass.
I've played with Vic. I played with Roethlisberger. Fuck Deshaun. No.
You guys are crazy. Desmond Ridder, we're all agree hard pass. We're not interested.
Yeah.
Okay. Gino is a talk we want to have. I'm gonna go mid-round upside. In a world where he repeats what he did last year, he could be a dog. People were fighting for him on the waiver wires all year last year. He's old as shit, so it's like, will he repeat? I have no idea. But I would rather have Rodgers just based on consistency. But of the two, I feel like that would be. I would take a second. I would probably wait the clock out, just for whatever reason. Tato.
Blah blah blah. Where are we at? Oh, we're on Gino, right? Yeah, I think he's in there with I would probably put him in a more similar tier to Daniel Jones. He's probably at that. He's going to be a backup guy. Okay. I don't think he's going to be in that starting range, but solid backup for sure.
Actually, I'm going to create that bench. Yeah. Antonio, what are your thoughts on Gino?
I was almost going to say mid-round still, but you're right. He still would be a starter for me. It's just hard for me to say that because he won me my league last year, all starting. And yeah, okay, he was in the middle of like a renaissance year, and it's gonna be kind of tough for him to repeat that. But I mean, yeah, I'll say upside, not a steal. You'd be definitely. I would not be mad if he was like my backup. Because I would say I wasn't mad having him as my starter, but it's just even though he's totally his team now, there's still some uncertainty. So and he's still got DK, but I mean like you never know what could happen. Maybe it might be some regression. But yeah, I'll keep him on mid round upside.
There you go. All right, now we're talking about a dog now. Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts is a league winner. Like it's
Yeah.
there's
Jalen Hurts is guy, bro.
yeah. So all I'm saying is though, just like what Tato said, I'm still I have a strategy in terms of like, so I can talk this strategy with you guys because my 12 team strategy is different than my 10 team. I'm not drafting Jalen Hurts or Josh Allen or Mahomes technically unless they drop to me at round 3. Like it's just because I in my league I have the 109, so it's like I'm not getting to that third round swing. If they drop to me at third round swing, I'll risk my second receiver and my second running back depending on how I go for the number 1 possible quarterback in the entire thing. So yeah, but he is going to be a league winner, but I'm probably not drafting them at their ADP, which is ironic because it's kind of what I was talking about with what I said at the beginning. Let's go over to Jared Goff. I'm going to go mid-round upside, just like Gino. That they're going to throw the ball, dude. Like if he doesn't throw picks and he actually does what he, essentially does what he did last year, he's going to be a guy that, you're drafting him as your backup, but he could take over your starting spot. So I'm going to go mid-round upside. Tato.
I'm either avoiding or hard passing on him. He's just like he's probably in that bench territory, maybe, but I don't usually carry that level of backup personally.
There you go. Antonio, what are your thoughts?
I'm actually going to say he's a mid-round steal. Even though I didn't really keep an eye on the Lions too much, I feel like they're giving him a lot of confidence this year, and I think they got I'm not sure if he's playing right away, but I know him having Amon-Ra and Jameson Williams.
Well, Jameson Williams suspended for 9 games.
6 games, right. But either way, he's going to have numbers, and then when everybody comes back and he's at full strength, he's going to put up even more numbers. So I feel like
apparently Schoonmaker, is that the one that they got? Tight end?
Oh, yeah.
Whatever rookie tight end, apparently he's already showing out. So it's like he's going to have weapons. And then Gibbs, we're going to talk. We're not. So I decided that this is going on a lot longer than we planned in a good way. Like I'm enjoying this, but like we'll have to do another version of the other position. But Gibbs, remember the name Jahmyr Gibbs. All right. Who is next? Next up is going to be Jimmy G. We all hard passing? Like, I'm not a Jimmy G guy, so I'm hard passing.
Yeah.
The Raiders are going to collapse. There's nothing good for that team to do this year.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Devontae Adams is one of the greatest receivers of all time. I'm hard passing at ADP essentially. Like that's one of the ones where it's like as one of the best receivers in the history of the league, I'm avoiding him because I don't have faith in his situation.
It's like you actually hope he gets traded to the Jets, honestly.
Facts. But like it is going to be expensive. But yes, it's definitely there. Next up we have Joe Burrow.
How long is he out again?
I'm not worried about the injury.
It's not. No, that it is actually legit. He might miss up to 4 weeks.
4 weeks. Right? I thought it was 6 weeks.
I'm not worried about that. I'm not worried about that. I'm just worried about in terms of. So for me with Burrow, again, my thought process in my league is if he drops to me. So essentially, say the first 3 quarterbacks, Allen, Mahomes, and Hurts are all gone by round 3.
Mm-hmm.
People are going to get scared and might overdraft Burrow. I don't want to say overdraft, but like they'll go in round 4 because they want to make sure they get him. Burrow and Lamar essentially. But if Burrow drops to me at 5, which once again it's that swing where it's the end of round 5, if Burrow's there, I'm going at him. So I'm gonna. He's still a league winner, though, regardless of whatever. Like, he's still a league winner. Like, regardless of where you play him, I'm just draft strategy-wise, he's not on that same level, but he should be. Like, the only reason he's not on the same level as the other 3 is just because he doesn't run. That's literally the only difference. Tato.
Yeah, I don't have him in the God tier. There are three dudes in that tier, and you mentioned them already when you said it. It's Allen, it's Hurts, it's Mahomes. Burrow is Burrow's at the top of the second tier for me.
That's fine. Antonio.
Or near.
I'm near there too. Like it's that position where like, damn, if I don't have a good starter, and even though he's out, I would still want to just take him and then stash him, and then have like just a decent start, maybe like a Geno, like just be like there for like 4 weeks, maybe 6, depending, because you never know. But yeah, he's just someone I feel like would be always reliable.
I started looking at these. I'm like, there's a few that's just not even worth the conversation. No one's drafting them. Like,
I like that you put a Patriots in there as a hard pass.
Well, it's Mac Jones. He's going to be he's like Brock Purdy, where he's going to get you that 15 points consistently. Not worried about it. Josh Allen, we already all agreed that I'm going to put him at 2. I actually feel like Hurts is going to really like up his touchdown numbers, and he doesn't throw many picks. Josh Allen, I don't expect him to throw as many picks as he did last year and be as bad as he was last year, even though he was still a guy. That I'm going to say Hurts finishes above him.
That's legit.
How are you ranking that? That's more of a conversation.
Yeah, I'll agree with you. So are we looking at the what are we just talking about Hurts versus Allen?
Yeah, for now, because
I would rather Hurts than Allen. Like, just gets it done on the ground a little more. Those fucking 1 yard quarterback sneaks into the end zone are worth so many points, and they succeed so goddamn often.
It's ironic. There's something about the Eagles' weapons that they're just all small and fast that they kind of fall at the 1 yard line, whereas the Bills' weapons are a little bit bigger, so they kind of just cross the end zone. Antonio, Hurts or Allen?
Hurts or Allen? I'll definitely take Hurts, honestly. So yeah, I actually think weirdly, and maybe it's a little controversial, I think Allen might be early round steal, only in the sense that because out of the people who you would think were going to be like first or second pick as far as quarterback or even third, I think he's going to drop only because I feel like he's got a lot of he's got a lot of beef surrounding him. I feel like Stephon is like slowly getting fed up with him, and obviously it's not going to translate to like losses or anything, but I just feel like eventually there might be just a dissolution of like just chemistry. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like he might not be fall off a cliff, but I feel like steadily it's just going to be like rearing its ugly head. So.
I also think that a lot of people are just going to forget that he was injured last year, similar to Rodgers with his thumb. They're just going to forget that even though he played every game, that his down play was essentially because of an injury that was just playable. So they're going to look at Josh's numbers compared to the others, and they're going to be like, maybe he is everything that you're saying, but not because of reason other than just looking at the numbers. So I feel like that is possible. All right, now we're going over to Fields.
Justin Fields, who ran a 4.44 40 versus Anthony Richardson's 4.43 40. Suck a butt. That's not a thing.
I said he's faster, bitch. That's all I was still right, so you suck my butt. Fields, where are you drafting his slow ass? Where's he going for you?
He's a top 10 guy for sure, I think. I don't know if I draft him. It depends on the league. If the league chooses to attempt to dick me, as it were, like, I won't really care. Because again, I just don't draft quarterbacks that high.
Oh, that's what you mean by dicking, like just everyone drafting too high?
I mean, like attempting, like if the person
round 7 is that like where you have a cutoff point where you're not drafting before a certain round?
It's not there's nothing that's ultimately hard and fast. It really, like, you take the draft as it goes, because fucking it's just depending on where I end up at in the draft, who's around me, who's already gotten their QBs, that's kind of how that will play ultimately. But I'm probably not going to be the guy who's in. I mean, Fields, again, it really depends on what the league's perception of him is. Is their perception he can't throw the ball, he's absolute garbage, or do they think that he's going to take the step that I think he's going to take? I don't expect him to have 1,200 rushing yards this year. So
that's fair. For me, I'm essentially with Dak, but a tier higher, where I feel like in that round 5 range where Burrow, where I said I would draft Burrow if he dropped. I feel like that's around where Fields goes, round 5 and 6. I would draft Fields in like round 7. So like I have my 3 starting receivers, I have my 2 running backs. I decided to go tight end for some reason ahead, and then Fields drops around 7. Yeah, I'm jumping on that. It's worth the risk because then I can draft Rodgers two or 3 rounds later and have a guarantee, starter with one of them with Fields to potentially being an upside league winner. So I feel like that's my strategy. So it depends on where he falls if I go him or not, but most likely not. But I'm not a hater. Antonio.
I actually say mid-round upside. I don't know. I mean, I've seen some of his games last year, and would I want him to be a starter? Not necessarily, but he's right there. He's like right on the precipice. I would probably like if I had like nobody, like I just took care of my tight ends, running backs, wide receivers, and he's just right there. I feel like, but
what 9 guys are better than him?
This is quite a lot, but I just feel like he would be there just to be like. That I know he has the potential to go off, but he'll be like at least just solid. I'm not saying he's gonna crap the bed. I just feel like it'll just be solid.
He's currently my 7th. No, what did I say? I have him. So for me, my ranking at quarterback, I have Mahomes, Hurts, Allen, and then I have Burrow and Trevor Lawrence, then Lamar, and then Fields. So it's literally I have both of them over Herbert just because you know what you're going to get over Herbert, but you don't know what you're going to get with those two, but it's worth the risk of their rushing upside. So like if they're both decent passers, then they're only about 20 to they're less than 50 overall points less than Herbert, but if they're great passers, their rushing is going to put them at like 50 over Herbert. So that's kind of my tiebreaker. So ranking wise,
I don't think outside of injury there is a way Justin Fields finishes outside the top 10.
No, he's definitely It's like you said, aside from injury, there's no way because even if he throws hella picks and he stays healthy, his rushing he's going to average probably about 60 yards a game, like average 60 yards a game by the season end. I expect 10 rushing touchdowns minimum. And then if he can throw 20 touchdowns, that's 30 touchdowns total, worst case scenario. And if he can throw for 3,000 yards with, what did I say? 60 times 17 real quick. I'm just curious this number 60 times 17 plus 3,000 yards. That's 4,000 yards on the ground and 30 touchdowns. That's a hell of a season. You know what I mean? Especially if you have 6 point touchdown passes like I do. I don't know if we're probably gonna do that in this league anyway. You know what I mean? But like even random, those are numbers. So yeah, Fields in the top 10, almost guaranteed barring injury.
I don't even know the league rules yet, so that obviously impacts how I'm going to draft too. So I really can't say shit.
They're nothing egregious. It's going to be pretty standard. Maybe 6 passing touchdowns versus that, and then PPR. But yeah, Herbert, I'm gonna go avoid at ADP behind Fields, just because I feel like he's going to be in that range where I probably want to get my 3rd receiver. Maybe Hawkinson drops around that range. Kittle, I mean, I feel like there's guys where I'm like, I can wait one more round and get Herbert. So I'm gonna go with that. Tato.
Herbert's probably one of those guys that I'm looking at in that range you said. I'm looking to get that probably 7th through 10th guy as my starter. That's usually where I end up on the quarterback range. So Herbert, Lawrence, Fields, maybe depending on how the league views them, kind of thing. One of those guys is probably going to be my guy.
Like that, and then Antonio.
Yeah, I agree with Tato. Definitely someone I would love to drop down to me, but definitely seeing was more. I would say, yeah, definitely that early rounds, 3-4 kind of thing. But yeah,
there you go. Next up, we have Kenny Pickett.
Also, he just got paid. Let's not underestimate that.
True.
Yeah, which also could go the opposite way, where he's legit. He has nothing to prove anymore. So sometimes that goes the opposite way. But also, and then the other thing is Kellen Moore. That's either going to be like Dak with his last season through the most picks of his career. And is it because of the play calling with Kellen Moore, or is it Dak? Because, that was the first time you ever done it. Was Kellen Moore starting to get too over big for his britches? I don't know. So there's a lot of question marks that could be negatives for Herbert versus higher up. So that's what, for me, he's avoid as ADP. Pickett, I didn't see his name earlier, so he's just down there. Kirk Cousins, I'm gonna go mid round upside, like essentially around this thing. I'm gonna go above Goff with that, around that round 10 range. If you haven't picked your quarterback or you're already, just kind of have setting up. Like if I go Lamar, then I'm definitely going. If I go Lamar in like round 6, I'm probably drafting Cousins in round 10 just so I have guaranteed, because I am afraid that Lamar could get hurt type of deal. Like and it's coincidence they both wear purple. I'm doubling up on the purple people eaters. You know what I mean? But yeah, Cousins, that's essentially my thought process. If I'm drafting Cousins, it's because of the backs. It's because of a backup, ready for injury. I'm ready for a guy that can step in and can not win me a league, but he's not going to lose me a league. Tato. As a Minnesota guy, what are your thoughts on Cousins?
Yeah, his name gets cursed a lot around here. I don't think he deserves the hate he gets necessarily for his play on the field. Other things aside, we'll go with that. But yeah, he's a guy you want to have if you're in the range that I'm in, where you have that 7, 8, 9, 10 guy you possibly want him to.
There you go.
Because he could potentially be that. He could be in the bottom 10 conceivably, maybe even like top 5 is a stretch. Bottom like the bottom of the top 10 conceivable. That's what I meant, not bottom 10, bottom of the top 10.
There you go. Ant-Man.
Yeah, I'll keep him there. After watching that Netflix series where he was one of the quarterbacks they discussed, I can see how he's definitely like he doesn't deserve all the hate he gets, and I feel like he just got a new weapon with Jordan Addison. And he's still got Jefferson, who's arguably the best wide receiver. He's still got TJ, so he's got the weapons. He's always consistent, and who knows? Maybe this is the year he really just gets pissed off and it really wants to go off. So who knows?
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't think and I don't necessarily trust Madison at running back. So I think
I don't trust him as my starter just because I want to see him prove it, but that's more so at his ADP. I know I could get 2 legit starters, but I'm if I get Madison in like round 7, I'm pulling the trigger every time of the year of Madison because he could be that guy. But that's a different conversation. I bumped up Rodgers to mid-round steal. I feel like that's a legit steal. He's just going to wait. Well, I would just now that tier is building up, I was like, he's just not the same as what that conversation is. So I'm hard passing on Kyler, not the player, just the injury. I'm just not. Yep. I'm not dealing with it this year. He's not going to play enough games, and even if he does play, Kingsbury's out. He's. I don't know. I'm just not interested in that. Yeah. You guys agree?
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. That guy's gonna get traded. Trey Lance.
Yeah. All right. So Lamar.
I still say he's a league star.
Lamar and Joby are a coin flip for me, so I'd have him in the same tier.
I'm gonna go mid-round steal just because I feel like based on his history, he's gonna drop lower. So, like I said, it's the opposite of Fields and Herbert for me. Whereas I would wait one more round. If Lamar gets to that round where I'm like he's still there, I'm picking him up type of deal. So I'm going with mid-round steal because I feel like people are going to let him drop. Like if he's in that round 6. For some reason, if Lamar's there in round 6, I don't care who's on the table. I'm picking Lamar in round 6. Like if I don't have 2 starting running backs and 3 starting receivers at round 6, and Lamar's my option, like imagine that. That's easy. Antonio, I'm gonna let you go first because you got to go soon.
So we're still Lamar or
Lamar?
Yeah, I'll keep him there. I just don't feel he's gonna drop too much because now he's got more weapons now, especially with Odell. But yeah, now he just got paid. I feel with him, the whole idea of him being paid might actually get him to like slack off just a little bit.
But I also feel like he's like, hey, now I need to start not getting hurt. Like when you're not paid, you're like, I got to risk for the biscuit. I gotta show out to get that money. Now that he's got the money, he's like, I gotta play to keep that money. Tato, what are your thoughts as a Fields 50-50 to this point? Are you more Lamar with Fields with the same general principle of style?
Yeah, they're pretty close. Lamar is higher for me, but not by a whole ton. Probably by like if Lamar is at the bottom, like Lamar would be at the bottom of a tier, Justin would be at the top of the next one, kind of territory. If Lamar fell to me, I'd be happy.
Yep, I agree. Stafford. I'm gonna go bench for Stafford.
Bench, yes.
Yeah, like because the Rams are going to be dog water. He's not on the same level as Cousins, or else if the Rams were what they were, their Super Bowl run, he would be at the right, probably a tier one above Cousins essentially, because it's the same thing, and also the running is the only reason why Geno technically higher. Where are you guys at? About the same?
About the same. I guess Cooper Kupp though. Cooper Kupp's hurt also, so it's like, damn, that kind of brings him down.
I'm not once similar to Burrow. I'm not worried about Kupp's thing either. It's
I would never roster him. I would pick him up straight. Like I'd pick him up for a week if he were playing a bad defense.
Yeah. Now, the more I think about it, that there are a few tiers that I would change different name wise just to like that. But yeah, streaming, that would be a good option for that. All right, now we're to the conversation with Mahomes. I still have him as my QB1. I have no reason. Best player in football. I have, unless his receivers just develop complete stone hands, which is possible. Aside from Kelsey, then Mahomes is still going to do what he does. You guys agree? 1, 2, 3. We all on the same page. Mahomes, Hurts, Allen. I respect that. All right, Russell. I'm going to go mid-round upside, dude. If he bounces back, he's going to be essentially what Geno was last year. And if he's not your starter. He's not your QB1. So I feel like that's upside. Give me mid-round upside. Tato.
He's not for me.
Ant-Man.
They bench only because, you got Sean Payton now as a coach, but I don't know how that's going to translate. He's getting older, so I don't know if his legs are as good. But I think his weapons are getting hurt. I think Tim Patrick got hurt. Cortland Sutton's coming back from injury. I think his running back's coming back, but we don't know how that's going to translate. So just a bench, if anything.
All right. Tannehill, hard pass. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Trevor Lawrence for me. I'm going league winner.
Oh, really?
It's technically in the late round still, like bases ADP, but Trevor Lawrence is going to be. This is his year where he is that guy. Like he is.
Like Joe Burrow.
Yeah, like that's. I literally have him neck and neck. Like I probably have Joe Burrow just because he's proved it more, but Trevor Lawrence, like he can run. His running skills are so underrated. Like he's going to get close to 500 yards this season is running, and it's not because he needs to, just because he can. Like I just feel like close to 500. Like if he's at 400 or 500 range with like 5 rushing touchdowns, he's going to throw for 40 touchdowns, 4,500 yards. I'm expecting a big seed. Like I'm all in on Trevor this year. So spoiler alert, if you guys are in the same league with me, I'm all in. Tato.
I like Trevor to be he could be my guy depending on if I find him right. Like because he's in that bottom 10 range or bottom of the top 10 range. But I think on a personal level, and there's definitely a non-zero degree of bias here, but I think this is the year that people see that Fields is clearly superior to Lawrence.
Antonio, save also. What are your thoughts on Lawrence?
I would say, I don't know, maybe because I'm also a little bit just biased whenever it comes to drafting Jaguars in the past. But I mean, I've seen the kid play. He's great. I just think it'd be like more of a mid-round steal. I don't think he's really established himself as a winner yet. Maybe this will be the year, and then next year be like, yeah, you have to have him as a QB1. But right now,
you also got to remember his second half of the season, he was like a top 5 quarterback by the pretty much. And then that's the second half. So obviously season long, it didn't look like that. And then they went to the playoffs. He won a playoff game. He showed that he can do a comeback, and he's got Doug Peterson as his coach. So it's like it's all, and Calvin Ridley's coming back, and he's in mid-sheet form. I'm equating Calvin Ridley's comeback this year to Jamar Chase's in his rookie season. Of everyone's like, oh, he took the year off for COVID or whatever. And then like, is he going to have the rust? No. Just like Calvin Ridley, and he's still only 28, you know what I mean? So, like, he's still got another year until the knees are like, all right, hey, knocking at the door. But I still like, this is an all-out year for Calvin Ridley, Trevor Lawrence, Christian Kirk's a dog, Evan Ingram, I'm all in on tight end-wise, by the way, based ADP-wise. There's tight ends I will draft above him. But all right, last one. Tua. If he stays healthy, he's a mid-round steal. I'm just being honest. And by mid-round, I mean late round, essentially, where it's just like where a steal in general based on his ADP. If he stays healthy, he's just got the weapons, dude. And as a Bama fan, I've never been the hugest fan of Tua, even though he's a Bama. I'm always going to support him. I just don't trust his health, like never did, even at coming out of Alabama with the hip. He's messed with his ankle. Now he's got these concussions. Like none of them are related, and they're all like things that show fragileness. You know what I mean? So I'm probably not drafting him, but if I get, like I said, it's essentially mid-round steal, but also like bench, where it's like every league, if I can get him at like pick 10 or 11 and have him as my bench, why not? And worst case scenario, my starting quarterback snaps off, I'll get rid of him and then just whatever. Or I need that bench spot, I'll just get rid of him. Not worth the risk. So Tua, it's a mid-round steal because I just feel like based on his health history, he's going to drop. And if he drops enough, worth it. Tato.
Yeah, could conceivably finish in the top 10. Probably won't, but probably will be in that 15 range. So a guy you don't mind having on the team.
Yeah, in most leagues there's 12 stars. So if he's closer to 12 than he's farther out from 12, it's worth to consider. And like I said, start being healthy. I would have him inside the top 12 more times than not. Antonio, what are your thoughts on Tua?
I agree. That's the perfect spot for him. Besides Geno and Dak, I forgot to mention there was a third quarterback in that carousel for my money league last year, and he was there, and he helped me out a lot. So I will say I had to give Tua some respect. Hopefully, maybe this is the year where he actually is a little bit healthier. He still got Tyreek Hill. Can't go wrong with Tyreek Hill. So, yeah, I think that's a good spot for him. Mid-round steal. I'll be definitely happy to have him. Definitely on my bench, and if it's a starter, I wouldn't be mad at all.
And the irony of my rankings, so just real quick, my rankings, and I'll end it at that. So like I said, I have Mahomes, Hurts, Josh Allen, then I have Joe Burrow and Trevor Lawrence. Like those are my top 5. Then I have Lamar, and then I actually have Fields. No, I have Lamar and then Fields. Despite of what you see on here, it's because of ADP reasons why this tier is different. Then I have Herbert, and then I have Deshaun, and then I have Rodgers, and then I have Dak, and then I have Tua. So regardless of what the tiers are, those are like my top 12 essentially, where it's like any of those I would legitimately be okay as my starter, depending on the situation, obviously Tua's health. Tato, what are your final thoughts with just the concept of this tier list? We're going to do other positions later, but what are your thoughts on this tier list, and what are your thoughts? Who's the quarterback you would be the most happy at ADP value-wise leaving any league with?
I'm not familiar enough with the ADPs to speak intelligently onto that one, unfortunately. So
we're just using sense of like there's tiers. A lot of people believe certain tiers, so you know that wherever that range of quarterbacks are, you're okay with their tier.
Probably Fields or Herbert.
Okay, I respect that. And then what are your final thoughts on the concept of tiering and doing other positions later?
I like tiers. This one was a little weird. Obviously, we started off, we added some. So if it's shaken out and maybe like less thrown at me, maybe I'll be better at it or whatever. But
next one's running backs. Yeah. Start paying, do a little research. No, I'm just teasing.
yeah.
Antonio, final thoughts.
Yeah, I like this whole concept. I thought it was pretty, quick where it needed to be because obviously some quarterbacks are just not even worth talking about. Yeah. But otherwise, just really fun just to see because there obviously is differences where you draft people at certain spots, but doesn't mean like they're necessarily shitty players and actually maybe even better than other ones. But also depends on the team you're trying to build. So for me, I also would love to get Herbert. I think slowly has become like my modern Drew Brees, but so far he hasn't really helped me out yet. In some of my other leagues, I've always wanted Herbert. Maybe even a dynasty league that I'm thinking about joining, I might want him. But the one guy I would love to have, despite the injury, is Joe Burrow. So, see what happens.
Once again, I'm not worried about the injury. I feel like that's just them playing smart with their franchise QB. It's a calf thing, so it's lingering. I've had a calf where it's, I'm working and it's, whatever, it's picking at me, and I'm not being hit, obviously, but like I'm not worried about cramping. I just know it's there, and so they're like, let's play it smart. It's hot. It's August. That cramps happen the most. Like Mike Evans have dealt with cramp almost every training camp because of that same exact reason, but he still plays the entire season. So I'm not worried about calf strain as much as like, other types of injuries. And then obviously Trevor Lawrence, that's my guy. QB, that's my guy. Like obviously, unless one of the number one guys somehow falls to a stupid level, Trevor Lawrence is my goal every league I'm in to lead with. So with that said, this was the first episode of Confidential Fantasy Football, CFF. This is what I love to do. So if you guys enjoyed our conversation, obviously this was a little more off the cuff, our first time of, figuring out what we're doing system wise. But if you liked our actual insight of this, go ahead and subscribe. I plan on doing more fantasy football videos. I'll do things like my advice league wise, certain things, who players I like, players I don't like, et cetera, not just the tiers, like actually do top 10 lists and stuff like that. I know those are popular. Henry Confidential, Jake Tato, Antonio Chavez, Confidential Fantasy Football. Bye, guys. Go Jets.